few years ago, it was unsexy to be pregnant.
There are women that I remember who were doing very well and then they got pregnant and they disappeared totally.
But I felt I had to push a little harder than everyone else so as not to be seen as incompetent or unable to do my work because I was pregnant.
Every picture you see of Rihanna since she's announced her pregnancy, her belly has literally been out.
So there's a transformation in how the female body is being dealt with on this journey to bringing new life into the world.
If we want to be the country to raise families, discussion needs to start now.
This might look like a typical magazine cover today, but backtrack to 1991 and it was not business as usual. In fact, it was the first time that a pregnant woman was being featured on a magazine cover. Some outlets even refused to carry this edition of Vanity Fair.
Remember that women's bodies in the industry and in public settings are supposed to be perfect, almost kind of normalized, and pregnancy in a lot of instances was once seen as a kind of aberration on the body. It's something that happens to your body that changes the way that it should look. And a lot of women in societies like ours you were kind of sent away from the forefront of public life. The clothing that you were supposed to wear was meant to hide your body. I don't know how. So you were wearing these what I call large gunny sacks. Something that is at the neck and it just big like a tent. If you're wearing a pants, you wear something at top that is a kind of sack.
They're not flattering, they're not good looking, they're just, let's put you in a bigger bag as possible to cover the belly. We didn't like that. Worked with a company, designed a whole line. You can still be a woman, not just a pregnant woman.
I recall reading an article about a female CEO. And within that article, they had mentioned close to the end that prior a female CEO was pregnant she was shot for the cover of the magazine, but they withdrew that picture pre-publication and replaced it with an older photo where she's not pregnant. And I'm thinking, this is 2 years ago. If that's a CEO, and that is what the CEO endured, can you imagine you or I or someone who's not a CEO and what they have to go through?
Women who are on the front of a screen, whether in the media, whether they are in popular culture, music or other film industry, their bodies and the way that their desirability comes forward is an important part of how they are being sold on these portals. Youth is also a critical part of it, and so they try to maintain these representations, how they look. Pregnancy disrupts that, and pregnancy takes you off these screens and off these stages for a period of time. Usually you're going to be replaced.
As far as where we are now in corporate and how women see women, I think a few years ago it was unsexy to be pregnant in corporate. But there's still a perception that because you're pregnant, you may not be able to give of your best in corporate, or you may not be able to function optimally because pregnancy is seen as a hindrance almost in society at large. So I think we have to have these frank, these open, these honest discussions to see how we can advance from that school of thought.
It's treated in a lot of ways like an illness, and even in the corporate world, many times when women go in for jobs, there's a concern that they may have to use several maternity leave depending on the age of the woman, because she's just starting a family and it's going to disrupt her productivity and her contribution to that entity. So there are many women, again, have been harmed by that perception.
I recall a female colleague of mine who did not work where I worked but was in private practice. She said, the pregnancy cannot be an excuse. And she didn't say it with malicious intent. It's almost like a warning to say, look, they're not going to give you any blighs because you're pregnant. So just bear that in mind. But I felt I had to push a little harder than everyone else so as not to be seen as incompetent or unable to do my work because I was pregnant. At the time, I was a part of a public inquiry that was televised, and there was a lot of work that went on behind the scenes in that. And even though in the room itself, counsel was supportive, I felt I had to be there on the weekends pushing to show that, all right, I'm giving as much as my counterpart. So through morning sickness, through pain, through medication, through doctor's visits, that's how I felt I had to be. I worked up until the last minutes when the doctor said it's time to go to the hospital.
I've known women who give birth and within 2 weeks they are back on TV. because they are out there pretending in a lot of ways that they are back to normal immediately and that they do not need to bond with their child. It was something that was a lot of pressure on women.
Nike got in trouble the other day with Alison Felix. So because she got pregnant and wouldn't be competing, they wanted to cut her sponsorship. But just because she's pregnant for 9 months doesn't mean she's no longer an athlete. It doesn't mean she will never compete again. So there's definitely corporate discrimination against pregnant women.
Even in our dancehall industry, there are women that I remember who were doing very well and then they got pregnant and they disappeared totally from the scene. And then what happens is that the career takes such a big hit that many of them never recover. Very few of them can make the comeback because in the time that they're out, other people come in and fill the gap.
Why everybody asking me, why do I have to have my son? Wonder if my career now go down. Tell them that I am safe and sanctified. Me run away the way.
Now things are slowly changing. We are seeing more images of pregnant women and we even are celebrating more.
Baby showers used to be only for women, you know. You go to baby showers and you tell horror stories of pregnancy. That's what they used to do at them. Tell you how it's going to hurt you, what you should do, and also how to prepare for the baby, prepare emotionally. Men were never usually allowed at baby showers. Things are different now. You have many different stages to pregnancy that include the whole community. Family members, male and female. You have gender reveal parties. You have the pregnancy photo shoot. Yeah, man, and you have all these establishments that are propped up. So your pregnancy photo shoot includes showing the entire pregnancy out. In these wonderful, and women are made up, and it's lovely, beautiful. Men are involved, the father, and it's a beautiful thing. And they show that. So it's a journey to enjoying the fact that a new life is coming into the community.
I think it's celebrated now because of the independence of women and the confidence they feel, and also over the years the body positivity that has been going on in terms of social media.
There's a transformation in how the female body is being dealt with on this journey to bringing new life into the world, and it's a very important part.
Well, social media has played a big part in that, let's put it like that, because the culture of social media right now, people are very much invested in people's lives.
So they are seeing these images, they are engaging with them. It's impacting on how people perceive themselves, not just as individuals, but in groups, in communities, in families, in societies.
Every picture you see of Rihanna since she's announced her pregnancy, her belly has literally been out. She just has on a jacket button at the top and the belly's out. So that shows you even where pop culture has gone towards pregnancy.
And Rihanna is a billionaire. Rihanna is self-directed. She can kind of do what she wants. But even so, she's a black woman from the Caribbean living in North America. And so she's within the ambit of many people. People see Rihanna now walking around pregnant, all her sexy clothes, her tummy half exposed, all of the fancy midriff bearing stuff. There are comments and questions and challenges, but it is still a part of the current ideas of how bodies should be projected when they are pregnant.
I think now we are a little bit more sympathetic or empathetic to the maternal journey.
Even to the point where in Jamaica we're having companies that are bringing in paternity leave so fathers can play a role in the children's lives at the early stage.
Nestle, being a company that promotes family life, has taken several steps to encourage that family life, and it's across a wide spectrum of provisions. So we start with our parental leave policy. We don't call it maternal, we don't call it paternal. So if you're an aunt, for example, or a grandmother who's a primary caregiver, you have access to the same leave time that a mother would if she had just given birth. Now, Nestle went above and beyond the 12-week statutes and offers 18 weeks for the primary caregiver, and for the secondary caregiver, who is more than likely a father, they get a month paid leave. In addition to that, there's flexibility with work. So me being a mother of a 5-year-old, I don't have the benefit now of a maternity or of a parental leave, but I have the flexibility because my child is in school. So that's one way they foster familial life. I have the regular obligations, but I don't have to go into office every single day. I can create my schedule around my child's drop-off and pick-up time. So they are open and inclusive in that manner.
In 2019, there was an attempt to amend Jamaica's 1979 maternity leave law to include 12 paid weeks.
The Act currently provides for, I believe, 8 weeks of paid leave and up to 12 weeks with an additional 4 weeks of non-paid leave. But what companies are doing, and what I think we could learn from, or the government could learn from, is what some of the companies have adopted. So the Maternity Act could be more inclusive. A revision of the time period is critical. Instead of just the mothers going on leave, we have provisions where fathers can take leave, or fathers who are primary caregivers can take some amount of leave as well. Now, as a mother, I know 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks is insufficient post-birth to give the child, the newborn, the necessary care that they need. We would definitely have to benchmark to see what other societies are doing. We would definitely have to get the buy-in as well from corporate. So it's not just a top-down decision. All critical and crucial stakeholders will have to weigh in the discussion. But if we want to be the country to raise families, discussion needs to start now.
Well, what is happening now is that more women are freezing their eggs for the future.
And I've seen some of those conversations of women, late 40s, early 50s, struggling to get pregnant, going to fertility clinics, spending millions of dollars. Zero, zilch, nothing is happening.
I don't think pregnancy is a setback at all. As a matter of fact, I think for a lot of women, it motivates them to go harder and to become their best self. So it's 50-50 to some extent in certain career fields, but for others, it's really up to the woman.
Women want to project the career forward, and so they are delaying pregnancy because they know from the work that they are involved in that it will impact on how they are perceived, how they are represented on a stage or a screen.
My advice to women who are pregnant would be, go for it. Still put out your best. You still have to put out your best, even despite perceptions of your limitations, but taking into consideration that you do have a medical condition. So don't work yourself to the point where you forget your iron, you forget your medication, you forget your folic acid. Don't work yourself to the point where you are collapsing because you still have to live for your unborn child. But at the same time, don't limit your thoughts to not being a mom.
It's a choice that people make, having a child as a woman, having a child as a family, as a couple, but it's something that is very rewarding, and it's something that when you become a parent, one of the most important decisions you make in life and one of the most rewarding decisions you can make in life. But again, it's a choice. And so I encourage people to make the right choice.
You do have an inner strength as a woman that I think pregnancy reveals. So it's time for us to manage our self-talk, flip it to a positive, and capitalize on the fact that you are in a power position, doing everything you can do for the job, but doing everything you can do for yourself and for your unborn child as well. So go for it, floor it, and don't look back in the rearview mirror and just continue to kick ass.
Let's keep the conversation alive. In fact, let's break the bias against women, especially pregnant women.